Good morning. This is Samuel Lee Flying Horse. I live in Alaska right now. It is July of 2017. I thought I would somehow start pulling the camera out and continuing my YouTube channel, and I got a Alaska Village Tales blog I used to write on, and I don't put stuff on there anymore, but I put enough for now, so and I'll continue posting there too. You'll find me on Facebook and Twitter. Anyway, I'm just taking pictures of the moon, and she is beautiful out there. I just took some pictures and a little video, and it's nothing new, but I'll put it up on my channel. She is beautiful. And I call it a she, but if you care to know about mysteries and deep things, then you have to look for yourself, and you have to question everything you know, and you have to give up a lot of things that you did know. And your beliefs, your testimonies, your likes, I guess you have to change a lot of those things and find what is real for you. So my testimony is more about humanity than it is about a church, because I was one of those church people at one time. But I cannot forget who I am, and first and foremost, I am Samuel Lee Flying Horse. I am native. I am full blood. And for the first 12 years of my life, I was native. I grew up with the Lakota language. I also grew up after my stepdad, my first stepdad, married my mom and fathered my sister and my younger brother, now deceased. I grew up listening to the old German. Then English was my third language. And now, like the cliche Facebook meme says, or mem, or however you say it, those little things on the internet, the cliche goes, I speak sarcasm and foul language. So, but that is what I speak as well. So, but some of us that do seriously speak sarcasm and honesty and foul language, we do it coming from the truth. So and most of us don't give a shit anymore about what people think of us, and that is why we speak sarcasm and foul language. Of course, I won't speak that much on these postings I have. I am currently 49 years old, and I was born in summer. So next month of August I will be 50. 50. And my life has been good. I grew up in South Dakota, and the churches at the time there, one of them being the LDS church, the Mormon church, or what have you, had their Indian student placement program going during the late 50s, 60s, 70s, and mid 80s. So some of those Mormon missionaries said, try this for a year. You'll go to a foster family and you'll get off the reservation and get away from all the alcoholism and dysfunctional living around you that you live in right now, and you'll have better opportunities. So of course, I was a young kid at the time, very pure and innocent, I guess, as we all were at some time when we were young. And I took that chance. I went to school in Idaho and loved it. I think it was 3rd grade, 4th grade through 6th. I spent school years and then summertime with my family in South Dakota. After that, my family moved to Oklahoma, and I spent 4 years in Oklahoma with my family, my mother and my sister and brother. And I spent the last 2 years of high school back in Idaho. I went back my junior year with one family, my first foster family. And then, because if I spent my senior year with that family, I would be alone. And of course, I kind of didn't want to be alone. I still wanted siblings. So the LDS Church found another family for me somewhere else in Idaho. And I spent 1 year at my senior year and graduated high school. And of course, all Mormons or church people of that persuasion are encouraged to go on a church mission. So some people said it's your duty, we did you a favor, you should do something for us, yada yada yada. So I did my 2-year church mission. I loved it. It was a good experience. I returned from my church mission. I spent 1 year at one of those church colleges in Idaho, an art major, I think. Then I did a year of cosmetology school when I stayed with my mother. And then was working for 6 months at least after doing a year of beauty school. And I saw all this, Saddam was invading Kuwait or something, and I saw all these war things going on TV and decided, hey, I have not served military, what should I do? So I can put everything off, I can keep paying for my yearly cosmetology license forevermore, wherever I move to. But you could only, you could only serve in the military when you were young. So I quit work as a cosmetologist, and I enrolled in the United States. I joined the U.S. Navy. So spent 4 years, 5 years. These little things you forget unless you look at your DD-214. But anyway, spending my first enlistment in the U.S. Navy, I had big dreams back then, Hey, stay in the Navy, keep on doing the parachute rigger thing, or go out for the SEAL program, or change rates and do something else, But I had enough of after one enlistment, so after that I moved to Seattle. I drove my little car out of the Oak Harbor Naval Air Station, Whidbey Island, and I went to Seattle and used my GI Bill. I finally got into a massage school. So And I love that time. I was always interested in human anatomy and the human body, so I had plans of maybe if I went back to college I'd become a doctor or something. So, but there was always that interest in medical school stuff. So, but I was a massage practitioner, and all through those years I had kept my cosmetology license active. So I was working as a cosmetologist here and there, and struggling to make a rent on our little apartment, and life was good. Had its struggles. Back then I wasn't drinking or smoking, and I was still a good, clean person, as I still am. But I was still a good person, stood upright, and looked people in the eye, and still dressed in a shirt and tie. And so I did some brief work for a few years. Again, I'm very proud of those days, but I don't tell people about them, and I probably never will. When you work for government people or so, you kind of have to keep your mouth shut about things, and that's understandable. So, but I did the massage therapy thing. Some of my employers that I did work for said, "Hey, well, you're a good cosmetologist, or you're a massage therapist now. Use that and keep working. And if we need you, we'll call you, and or we'll contact you." And they did. After a few years, though, I had another life change. My parents sent for me. I didn't want to come to Alaska, but I did. And after I got here, I loved it. It was beautiful. It was cold and it was dark, and snow and ice when I arrived. And I arrived about 18 years ago. So then 9 years, my 20-year anniversary. So coming up on 2019, it would be my 20th year up here. So I've been up here about 18 years now. I don't keep my licenses anymore for hair or for massage, but there's always the interest. I still have the tools. I have my little tool roll to work on people's hair, and I still massage now and then. So still have a chair with me. But I always have the knowledge, at least, and still build upon those things as far as my interests that I've always had over the years. I don't like to get into detail about some things, and I really won't, but except for most recent things, of course I'll be getting into those. You don't need to know about me, and I don't need to know about you. That's not really important. What is important is what you cling to and what you become with your work, and what message you have. So anyway, but I've been up here in Alaska. I was unemployed for my first year. I stayed with my family once again, and then I went out into the village and became public safety, and wore that hat for a while, and became official in uniform again. Always the uniform. the village public safety people do the police, fire, EMT, first responder, water safety, fire chief, police work. And in the village, when I was village public safety, there was tons of assaults and things I had to go to and work that I had to do of a police nature. So what hand-to-hand training and stuff I had been through, and firearms training and stuff I had been through, it helped me greatly when I went to the village. So when I went to the academy where they train Alaska State Troopers, all of that stuff really wasn't new to me. So except the boring homework we had to cover and do and pass every week, the tests. So I'm very proud of those village public safety years. So that opened up even more things for me to continue on in my life. So I've done other things as well since then. I moved to Anchorage for a few years. Just before I turned 40, probably when I was 38, I can't remember exactly. And 38, 39, I started drinking. I had to address that drinking gene in my system. I had to address it, I had to deal with it, so, and I'm glad I put that off. I drank heavy for 7 years, so and that was quite an experience too. I still want to drink. Presently, I'm not drinking, of course. Well, I will explain later on why. And I worked at a few more security jobs. I washed dishes in Anchorage. I did another military enlistment. I joined up the army this time. I think I was 42 at that time. And signed up for 3 years, but because I was old and tried to do the physical training, it was kind of hard to keep up with everyone. But anyway, I got out of the army. My command said, we'll be nice and let you go. We'll chapter you out, but you did good. So, and thank you for your service, and boot. So after spending full time on a military base, army base in Fort Stewart, we also did one deployment to Iraq. And I come back. And I've been here ever since, for the last 6 or 7 years now. And I love it. I'm exactly where I need to be, where I want to be. And anyway. My life isn't that exciting. There's tons of more people out there with exciting lives, but what I will be talking about is the native stuff. All my life I grew up. Well, of course we all grow up, yes, but I still remember my birth. I still remember those spiritual things that we talk about or read about, hear about. I still remember a few things. I believe the Christian religionists when they say that, yes, this is a place for us to come and we are here. A proving ground, this is where you wanted to be during this time, yada yada yada. I can believe some of that, yes. But you have to, in the end, you have to go with what you yourself have experienced and what you know for yourself. And you have to look deep inside yourself and into some of those most deepest memories that always stick with you, and you might dream about them, or you might think about them, or they'll pop up. And those are things that you have to stick with. No matter your lineage, your race, your heritage, your skin color, your nationality, you have to stick with what you were born with and what you have had happen to you all your life. Any of those supernatural things that happened to you, your dreams, whether you were just daydreaming and something popped into your head, or whether you did have some experience of some kind, hopefully it was when you were sober instead of drunk, or otherwise when you were sick or under duress of some kind, or whatever. I am Native. I hung around my mother for a few months before my birth. And when I was born, when I finally went inside her, it was dark. It was very warm and it was peaceful. My mother was all around me. And I still like the white noise that you may hear about or have experienced yourself. That noise in the background somewhere. You'll hear things far off, and I still remember a heartbeat. I still remember lungs breathing. I still remember food being digested, and so on. And I heard other voices outside, and sometimes Mother was happy, and sometimes she wasn't. Sometimes things were kind of tumultuous and, dare I say, domestic violence related, but I still remember those last few months and weeks and days before I was born. Then I slipped into this world one morning in August, the month of the choke cherries. I didn't cry. Yeah. Mother's hands held me, and later on my grandma Ada held me. And my grandma that was there, she died a few days ago. So, but I still remember her. Anyway, throughout my childhood, I still remember some things that happened to me when I was by myself. Or if I was learning about the world around me, I have always been somebody to think about what I read or what I learned or what experience happened to me, and then I will run down different avenues of thought and talk to myself about things in my head, and you weigh all the options of things, and you learn, I guess, how to do that. So that way visualization of things came to me over time. That concept is nothing new, but when I discovered for myself that you can talk about things, and I guess I don't want to say the word fantasize, but talk about how things could be, or go over in your head different options about different things, then you kind of learn how to do those things on your own. And later on, when you're reading and studying and figuring out life, then you realize, as far as the psychological or those, anyway, you find out that those scientific things that was written about human behavior and so on, that's what you were doing, that's what you were following. So so in that sense of just figuring out the world around me, and of course with life giving me experiences and things to help educate me and give me options and opportunities, I started to weigh things and think things and trying to figure out my place in the universe and in this world. So what I say or stumble through really is nothing new. So everything is out there in the world today. You just have to find out for yourself what those things are. These devices that we have now currently, I mean, I grew up with comic books, and I grew up with well, many of the comic books and stuff that we see about in movies nowadays. I read about those when I was a child, so I know the storyline of King Kong and Thor and Spider-Man and Wolverine and everything else there. So I grew up watching Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner and Tweety Bird and all the old cartoons and old TV shows of the 60s and 70s and 80s. And I grew up still with various religions here and there in my lifetime. But always a Christian religion was with me in one form or another. And I was always living a good life in one way or another. So I've got short hair now, but I've grown my hair long about 3 times in my life. So I grew my hair to my collarbone, the sideburns to my collarbone, the back 3 or 4 inches past my neckline or the collar line. I remember when I was a Mormon and went to one of the Mormon temples when I had long hair, and a lot of people didn't like it, but yeah, I was there with them. I stood in their prayer circles. I did what they did. I still remember some of those ceremonies verbatim, and I still remember those things. And I understand them now to be just, well, what they are. It's just church stuff. If you believe in it, you believe in it, no matter what ceremony it is. And you'll memorize it and you'll love it. And then you'll sit and think and look at other people and say, well, why aren't you loving this more? How come a high priest leader or a mission leader or how come a bishop member or a stake president that goes through the same temple session with you, and as soon as they get through the veil to the veil room or to the celestial room, then they fucking leave. They don't sit and chat and talk. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have those religionist people that will talk about real estate and finance and talk about each other and stuff, and all in the same breath. And that's not Christian. That's not whatever you're supposed to be. So, but I kept my mouth shut about some of those things and just thought about it. And so, and not everything's perfect in life. Neither is religion. Anyway. But all my life I've seen supernatural things. I've experienced what you call out-of-body experiences. I have had a near-death experience or 2. I've also had visitations happen to me. I've also had dreams, and like I said, out of the blue, something pops into my head, something good. Something points the way and guides me, and the choice is up to me to follow it or not. Generally, I did, so. And I'm still alive after all this shit I've been through. So far. The smoking's gonna get me, I guess, if I keep smoking. And I love drinking for what it is. It's just something to do, and if you don't hurt anybody else, then fucking drink. But even that has a bad stigma or bad connotations that go with it. So, and alcohol is not good for natives anyway. Everyone talks about native history and native things of the last 300 or 400 years now, or last 500 or 600 years, ever since 1492, yada yada yada. People talk about these things, and everyone writes about these recent things, but nobody really goes into in depth. Nobody out there really puts out things of what happens to the natives hundreds of years before that, or what happened thousands of years before that. And there's little circles within native groups that always say, well, if any other education out there or any other stories or information is out there, it's all white people, it's not us, we don't believe it. Then I have to turn around and say, well, okay, what do you have to say then about you? And, well, it's all sacred, not supposed to tell. Well, fucking say something about these things. You'll have to go read my Twitter timeline. I posted lots of shit there over the last few years. So, of course, in between some porn I may have retweeted, or pictures I may have reposted or something. I am no sex fiend, but I do know what a woman is in a good way. And I also know what pornography is, and that if you can put some of that in a way of some people, you drive the weak out. You drive the weak away from you, and people that are not serious about getting to know you, or getting to know an interest of the natives and getting close to natives. Oh, I love natives. And then they fucking look at some of the things on my timeline, or they look at my public Facebook, and then fucking they leave. So, well, tough shit. That's your problem, not mine. I know what things are now in the world. I grew up looking at pictures and figured out how to read by myself, to myself. Even though I had teachers and stuff and did the school thing, I had to learn a lot of things by myself. Sometimes I wonder if I wasn't an autistic child, because I graduated about a year later than I should have. Some people wanted to hold me back in school, but my mom wouldn't have that, so... You're fucking staying here with us. You don't need to go back to those church people. Okay, alright. So I went to school and continued on. But I finally made it. I'm outside my little yard here in Alaska. Outside in my little blue house. Anyway, so I'm one of those natives that have had things. You have to go look, though, for yourself and read. And whatever else I've posted, I put things out there, yes. But there is no time to cover all the basics in one video or another video or another video. Fucking, I don't really care people's background of if there's some speaker out there, or someone that puts out wisdom and knowledge about things in this world, or whatever that they talk about as part of open religion or new age stuff or spiritualism. Or yeah, I've seen a lot of those things on the internet. I haven't read every word and seen every video of maybe my favorite people out there that I do like, but about one topic or another. And I'm more interested in the message than I am in the person. So likewise, fucking, you don't need to really care about Samuel Lee Flying Horse if he has anything good to say. Just fucking, what is the message behind? Anyway, we'll be getting these videos more online, so I do talk sometimes high-pitched and I sound like Pee Wee Herman, but I do that because I'm usually around children and I talk in a sing-song voice to the kids or to some of my favorite females and stuff. Hey you! And then give them a hug or something. Slap a few butts or whatever, but I only do that to people that I like. I mean, females I like, so that's just the big brother in me or the protective person in me. But my regular voice will be deeper and slow like it is right now. So you'll be hearing me speak Lakota and Russian and Czechoslovakian. Swedish is very hard, even German too, but I'll be doing all that shit later on when I start posting more. So right now it is English that I am speaking to you. So anyway, I'm just gonna put something up. But if I have one thing to say, though, is just find yourself. Find out who you are right now. And take pride in your nationality. Take pride in your culture. Take pride in who you are. Hopefully you are somebody good. As the religionists say, that if criminals and murderers and stuff can reform themselves and become prophets and writers of parts of books of the Bible or anything else, then I guess everyone else or anyone else that has done similar also has forgiveness. I myself, I am no saint, but in the grand scheme of things, if you already quote-unquote know about life, I'm no fucking sinner either. I don't believe in religion anymore. I don't believe in the dogma going on out there about a white-bearded God wearing robes, and he's white-skinned and white-haired and sits on a throne, and when you die, you either go to heaven or hell, and or the Mormons, I guess you go to different degrees of glory. I forget what the Seventh-day Adventist people do. I had no idea what the Jehovah's Witnesses believed, because one of my friends and maybe a girlfriend or so at another time was a Jehovah's Witness. So I don't really get into some of those things. Fucking religion is too weird sometimes, but I have to put all those things aside and ask myself, well, what the fuck are you? Oh, I'm Native. That's what I've always been. All these experiences I had all my life. My camera bag just fell off my camera. Anyway, so you have to go with what you have experienced all your life. You have to go with what you are and find out what you are and have a belief system based on that. I'm no mathematician, and I'm no I am not a what do you call a laboratory person. I'm not a scientist in that way, but from what I've read and looked at and experienced a little bit here and there on my own, I know there's different viewpoints about this world and its origins that do mesh and that do cohese and that do speak to my heart as far as creation goes, or as far as evolution and as far as development of species or humans or our universe. I am not a flat earther. I never was. Though you will find in the native culture, some of the natives talk about Turtle Island. Well, fucking, what is that concept? Well, our world is upon the back of a great turtle moving through space or something. But what is the back of a turtle? It's flat. Okay, well, okay, flat Earth. Yay! Natives are flat earthers. Oh, well, fuck you. I'm not a flat earther. But that's just one of many fables and legends and stories that we have. And some people take the ball of, some natives are flat earthers, and they run with it. So, not me. I'm Lakota native. I'm just a flat asser. So, because my butt is flat. No. Of course, my nose is too damn big right now. But anyway. Oh, I'm quite proud of this. It's a little self-tattoo that I did. I don't have the skin color on my hands, but I guess vitiligo is what it's called, you know, when you have no skin pigmentation. But look at the little horse there, a little self-tattoo that I did. I bought a little tattoo kit a few years ago when I had money. And I only used 2 needles upon myself to see if I could deal with the pain, and of course I did that little stick figure of flying horse. I guess. His horse that flies is what my mother tells me, so. But there's rich history about that, and I'm quite proud of that. My name is older than this country itself. It is quite old. It's not within 100 years or so. None of our native names are really recent, of a few hundred years old or less. Fucking some of the native names go back thousands of years. So, but you have to find out these things for yourself, whatever your culture is, whether you're a native or not. Just believe in you and go from there, and always live a good life. Do your best every day. Love your family if you have one, if you care to have one, and if you care to make one, fucking be the best that you can to your kids. I don't have children of my own, but I have had children from other people. I've had a few girlfriends here and there, and I looked after their kids, or a friend of a friend or whatever, and I looked after their kids for a day or 2 or so, or whatever. So I'm always the family man. But I will have my own children someday, with a few women of my own, from my own body. My children, that is. Anyway. Alright, I'm going to end this, and maybe I'll continue, or maybe later I will. So, thank you for listening, and you watch your videos on YouTube, and I'll watch yours if you watch mine. Thank you.